It'll still get out there.
All right, it is 7:05 and I think we are ready to get started. Is everyone ready to get started here? Okay, I heard a lot from this side of the audience. This side of the audience felt like a cheer. Could we just hear again? Are we ready to get started? That is more like it. Welcome everybody to the last open mic for Inspire Café's 12th season. We did it. We did a whole season, September to April, here in the wonderful B&A tasting room, and we are so happy that you are all here tonight with us. Just a couple of things before we get going. The first thing that I'm going to do is we're going to do our land acknowledgement. So we are here on the unceded traditional territory of the Okanagan Seals people, and it's really important that we acknowledge it and we don't just make it something that we say at the beginning of events, because we're here and we're occupying this space and we're very lucky that we're able to be here and to host our events here. We're very grateful that we are continuing guests on this land, so I just want to acknowledge that and the ongoing work that IWC does for that. Next thing, we do have gender neutral washrooms in the back corner there. They are single user washrooms, which is super awesome. So if you need to use that at any time, please feel free. I already did the last call for food. You can still technically go up and order now. It's just going to be a lot more awkward because I can see you going up and ordering your food. And so I'm going to call you out if you're taking your time to order your food. And then, how the night's going to go. So we're going to start off. We're going to do a 5-spot open mic. Actually, no, apparently we're doing a 6-spot open mic. And so you'll get to see some wonderful readers from the community read some work. And then we are going to move on to the book launch part of the night, in which we have a wonderful opening by Brian Ennis, who's a member of our IWC board. So he'll do a little opening, and then we will go right into a reading by Leslie Ann Evans, who's going to be launching her new book, Mute Swan, which is, we're very excited to be hosting her book launch tonight. Let's hear it for Leslie Ann. And then we're going to be doing an interview, Erin Scott, our lovely Erin Scott. Boo! Who invited her? No, it's just kidding. We love Erin. And she's going to do an interview with Leslie Ann, so that'll be really exciting. I have a couple of sponsors to thank. We have to thank the State of Kelowna, the BC Community Gaming Grant, and of course the B&A Brewing for hosting us in this lovely B&A tasting room. We've had so many awesome events here over the season, and I think regular attendees will agree that this is a super amazing space to host us in. So just a quick round of applause for B&A for being such an awesome host. All right. And I think with that, we'll get into the open mic. I'm gonna get my list out here. Now, should I go in the order that people signed up in, or should I do like just blind picking? What do we say?
Chaos!
Chaos? We all like this chaos. Okay. So the first person here is somebody who maybe has read, maybe hasn't. Her name is Cora. Everyone, please welcome Cora to the stage.
So many of you know me as Courtney. I've recently started to go by Cora for a few reasons. Courtney in the English language means of the court or justice, and I'm an anarchist, so it's never really worked for me. And Cora is a Greek goddess, so I kind of felt like that was a better name that suits me. So yeah. Anyway, I just have one poem to read today for you guys. You are a warrior, softened by the blow of genocide. How bittersweet it must feel on the inside. The internal wound of intergenerational trauma moves like arrows mending, time bending. Your healing is resounding. No fear is allowed in, even though your heart is pounding. Walking the red road helps us lighten the load. The fact that I am white passing is well understood, yet my mixed blood was brought to light in childhood. The ancestors of Turtle Island, along with those of Norway and the Highlands, are within me, making me a good ally. For guidance, I look to the bone-dry blue sky. To see through the trauma has been mostly subliminal, making the connections to my culture ephemeral. Weaving the patterns of my past has been so lucid yet so elusive, like a cross-stitch of missing colors. I've been lost and found like many others. Though I often wonder what my voice would sound like if I spoke my mother tongues. In residential school, if my great-grandmother didn't survive, then I wouldn't be alive. I would be a part of another lost generation to genocide. So here I stand, trauma-mending, time-bending, I dream in green, heart-centered and clean, wishing I could give the healing to those in need, like planting the seeds and watching tendrils grasp to the sinew and the joints, bending, mending the trepidation, linking to the separation, fusing to find the roots before the fruits. I feel the soft hum of a warrior song just behind my tongue, sweetly drawing in air, fleshing out the words long forgotten, yet that live in the memory of my blood, my ancestors singing to the pulse of my heart and the warmth of my breath. There is a hunger there, an agility barely even known, yet my muscles take over, articulating the lost art of ancient wisdom of ceremony and song. I feel the soft hum echoing down my throat, swallowing the injustice of the world. I know my ancestors are behind me and no one can touch my naked soul. Enlightenment isn't about attaining anything. It's fully accessing the knowing that we cannot be tamed or controlled. The patriarchy will fall to its knees as we stand in solidarity. To remain standing is true resiliency, where we trust in our own brilliancy. I feel the soft hum grow louder with the voice of us all. Thanks.
Thank you, Cora. Thank you so much for that. That felt like a really great, anti-colonial, anarchist poem. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for reading tonight. Just give it up again for Cora. I also realized in my haste to get started, I forgot to introduce myself to all of you lovely people. So currently I'm just some nameless host to all the people who don't know me. My name is Emmett, my pronouns are he, they, and I am an IWC member collective, IWC collective member. I also work for IWC and I'm doing a lot of things. I'm really happy to be here hosting tonight. In case you wanted to say hi after, it's Emmett. Alright, so next in our chaos order, who am I gonna pick? Who's next up? I am gonna go with this person is an IWC regular, and they haven't read for a little bit. They're also not sitting in their seat, so I don't know where they are actually. Oh, they're ordering food. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do a different chaos order. I told you to order your food 15 minutes ago. What are you doing? Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Let's go with, so this person I think is his first time at IWC, and I actually met him at a reading festival out in Summerland last summer. He was the host for the Men in the Future Reader, so it's really exciting to see him out. Everybody give a big hand for Rourke.
Thanks. Wow, I'm just making a lot of mistakes today. I did not remember Emmett from summer until they mentioned it right now. Great. But we met on Tuesday at the New Village Theater. I also don't have my glasses and the font is too small, so this may just be complete garble. And this is a Seaching binary lament in 2 parts. So the tick-tock time machine travels me back to the days of slit-clad young maidens, all green and no pizzazz. I guess they're pretty in a cute little kitten kind of way, but thank you, no, I don't want to fuck my daughter. No, just hand me a timeless vintage, well-figured and wanting a man who wields pleasure as a sword, who wears her nakedness as a creamy cloak, who owns my eyes with her laugh and grabs my balls with her intent. who smells like my lost past and blows that memory away with a waist-deep kiss, reaches shamelessly for my lust and trust and thrusty, musty old soul, embraces them all with daredevil desire, holds them for a while, then gives me the same. Who allows herself to allow me to cradle her in the palm of me, who shakes her skirt way up above her knee, who pours out pheromones like I pour brandy in my coffee, who flings her art and artistry at the world and knows I am there to catch it, who guffaws at my girlish insecurity and strokes my aching back, who allows me to give her all I've got, which on some days isn't much, but on others is. And every day is the truth and trembling butterfly on hand, trust that I give like a drunk throwing pearls at swine flu feared victims, breathing death into themselves through paper masks. And she has hair and skin and flesh and perspective and a craving for raving and cranking the volume at inappropriate public moments, the same which close around us as we stroll the lane in a windswept, nonchalant finger twine while the sky breathes mist into our love. While she owns the night and accepts the love I have no choice but to give, caring, caressing, blessing, pressing the days between pages of our Bible, taking the bumps that freeze off and appreciating the curves in her body and her life, offering equality with the ability to accept fault and forgive it, yes, thank you, to keep it clean and keep it real, to take it hard and to real to feel. Yeah, I know it's not much. Yeah, I know it's not much, not when compared to the grand cosmic vastness of the void, the neon-flecked dark depths below the Marianas trenchcoat-wearing, granite-jawed, non-existent man of my faded dreams. The one that looks past everyone else to see me in my shy, shifting shine, who strides effortless in dogged desire, who lights my fire then quells it, who sniffs around my vagina door like a lonely, lovely wolf, earthbound and taking the heaven-sent gift of my undisclosed yearning, corset-bound by the tiny minds of the tiny people who have tiny views. Yes, my secret shouting self, ever seeking, peeking, hatching, reeking of my sweet, sweet scent, unmasked by perfumes, powders, patchouli, and pretense, defenseless in the face of genuine need, relentless indeed, and harsh and beautiful, and striking and consoling, and flowing over rocks and crags and jagged soft breasts of eloquent care. He is graceful, he is hard, he is tuned to my fever pitch, he holds me down in submission, he listens to me talk, he hears me crave, he takes in my moan, he leaves me alone, leaves no stone unturned, he is twice bitten and twice burned, collectively dancing just within my reach until he strikes in to grab me in the heat of my core, and just a little more, just a little lower, just a little slower, just a little, oh no, oh, then holds me, folds me into him, soft skin kissing, letting me miss that fear for just a while. The shame of wanting to never be alone, though he doesn't insist, and for that I can't resist his consistent concern, lingering love, and the odd unexpected midnight visit that I can't help but anticipate, opening myself like a second floor window into my heart, replete with a trellis and vines and unspoken invitation. Is that too much to ask for?
Thank you. That was great. As someone who's just recently hit the dating scene, I can say that I 100% agree with all of that. I think you need to write my Tinder profile. Also, I'm loving the shirt. Tie-dye is amazing. Is it not? Yeah, I love tie-dye. All right. My next chaos person is still not back in the seat, so I'm going to go with somebody. Let's go down. They're talking now. Oh, they made it back to their seat. Wonderful. So this is an IWC collective member. They've been a regular at our open mics. They haven't read for a little bit. Everybody, introducing Shumshine.
So you have to be in your seat to read one of these? I just want everyone to note my little clutch here that I got a few days ago, literally just for the purpose of this, because it is the perfect size to carry notebooks.
I thought you had an iPad.
Not bad. Not corporate sellout like some of us, so. I'm gonna read. This is too short. I'm gonna read a couple of poems here for you tonight. The first one is actually from our very own IW Zine, which was a wonderful project we put together over the summer. It was a lot of fun. I can't remember if I've read from this or not yet, so I don't think so, which is crazy because it came out a little while ago, and this whole time I haven't actually got to read this. This is a poem in here. Now there's a poem in there. This first one is a poem that I wrote in this zine workshop as kind of a way of exploring my own identity and what it means to create your gender as a trans person, and the ways that we tend to mold who we become and the wonders that that brings in kind of an abstract reflection of the joys without dismissing any of the real traumas that can come along with that, but ultimately lead to a beautiful discovery. So this is called Worship, and I named it that after a worship, literally, of the body that I have created. Worship. Of the simple act, there are no limits. The important pleasure of creativity brings us optimistic depression, a kind of empathy. We'll find pencil or pen bringing life at pace, waiting to be set free. Be surprised as you arabesque, swirling and even add something about the rhythms of your mind inside every spare moment that we take to indulge ourselves on a regular basis. It's opportunity that sometimes stimulates our right to a mood, that deals with aspirations, own vulnerabilities, that steer many people by worshiping the needs we often don't act on. Thank you.
Worship or worship? Sounds like you're
Worship.
saying war.
I'm sorry. Is this coming from the person who has read multiple times a beautiful poem with the word sanguine in it, but pronounced it sanguine?
Sure fucking is, Sean.
I think I'm allowed to say worship
I'm just
if
asking,
we're allowed to say sanguine.
but you still know what word I'm saying. I'm actually asking, is it worship or worship? It's worship,
Damn.
right?
Damn, you got me.
Yeah,
no, worship. Yeah, no, it's my stupid Torontonian accent.
Right.
I say things like printer and apparently
Printer.
is a back me up. It's printer and internet. Thank you. Yeah, okay, there's a couple Torontonians here. Y'all suck it. On to my second poem, which is very heartwarming, I promise. Very, very much part of the flavor here. This is also kind of one that is a bit of a reflection on, of course, trans identity. Not that that's the only thing that I can write about. It just tends to be what I write a lot about. Thank you. I got my one set of snaps in the back. I appreciate that. This is called Cracks in the Sidewalk, and it's a poem that helped me process some of the difficult relationship I had with my parents. I wrote it at a point where my relationship with my parents was really falling apart, and I was starting to realize that I need to set some very hard and dramatic boundaries that have led to a lot of pain in my own life, even though it was a hard boundary and a separation that I had to initiate for my own mental health and my own well-being. So, in contemplating that, I wrote this kind of optimistic reimagining of what I thought that relationship could look like. and has helped me in that regard, but also kind of allowed me to reconceive of the ways that love can manifest in my life with or without particular relationships just because they are expected. Cracks in the sidewalk. On this side of the block, someone's child, hair stuck in, sweat is running. Flat feet thud, 22 inconsistent new learned steps race to the crosswalk's curb. On that side of this street, someone's parent stretches wings to meet up. Across the side, walks divide, long worn smiles greet familiar, the others embrace a melt in 33-degree heat, worth, salt, sweat of only a child's delighted awe. Only a loving care giver's unconditional devotion can meet this side to that, despite the cracks. Thank you. Woo!
Thank you, Shimshan. It's always a treat to hear you read. Let's give it up again for Shimshan. We love them at IWC, even though they love to talk. We always need someone who likes to ramble a little bit on this mic. Our founder of IWC, Raul James, also loved to do that, and we love him for it. We love Shimshan for it. It just kind of keeps the spirit going a little bit of talking about poetry. All right, so now we've got two more people who are going to be reading tonight, and they are both wondering. No, we've got three more people. So they're wondering who is going to get picked next. I'm looking at my list here, and we are going to go with, I think, another first timer for reading at IWC. So give them an extra big warm welcome. Please, everyone, welcome to the stage, Matthew.
About when I used to compete in boxing, and it's just kind of about my journey from there to here. The name of the poem is Hands. Blow after blow, thine enemies will lay low, but these hands don't just hurt and leave people in the dirt. They play and make music and will hold you when you lose it. So yes, they wobble and they shake. There's a toll they've had to face. I whittle them to the bone for everything I hope to own. These hands have done a thing or two, now all they do. But now they mean more than black eyes and bloody knuckles. They play and will pull, love and beauty untold. They put pen to page and help do the battle I wage. Yes, these hands will do. Woo!
Wonderful, thank you so much. You know, I don't think we've ever had a boxer
No.
read at IWC. That's so cool. Unless there's like secret like IWC boxing matches that are happening that nobody's inviting me to.
You don't talk about it.
Sorry. This is where I get yanked off the stage and they never let me off stage. Okay.
No, we box you off the stage.
We box me off the stage. Okay. So now, who's next on the list? Who's next on the list? I think we're gonna go with another IWC collective member who actually I don't think has read this season yet, and I think it's really exciting that he wanted to read tonight. Everybody put your hands together for Henry.
Streak of reading continues because I'm going to be singing a song instead. Also, I lost my strap on the way here, so I'm going to have to sit down for this. Oh, thanks, Cole. I took the workshop. I know what's up. Hey, how's everyone doing?
All right.
find a killer. I know she's there. Yeah, I don't know how this is gonna sound, so I hope this sounds cool. Anyone hear that?
Yeah!
I'm getting out of the back, so that's a good sign. Yeah, I'll just do 2 quick little songs, nothing too crazy. Don't want to blow anyone's mind too much. Alright, this first song's a cover. It's from a very near and dear TV show to my heart, and I'm gonna mess it up. It's gonna be great. Stay tuned. And the 1, and the 2, and the 3, ba-bum, bum, bum, baby, I'm bored. How I adore that sign on my car's window pane. Bouncing my step, loaded with pep, 'cause I'm driving in the carpool lane. Call me a square friend. Oh, wow. Woo! You're gonna take it from there. And also just like bring it down. I'm up here. I need to like take it down here. Call me a square friend, I don't care. That little yellow sign can't be ignored. I'm telling you, it's mighty nice. Each trip's a trip to paradise with my baby on board. Oh no, this next song doesn't have any singing at all, so I'm great. I'm good to go. But yeah, it's just a little ditty I put together. Yeah, it's neat. I love it. You guys like it too.
But you want me to hold the mic up to the banjo? Yeah.
I can bring it right there.
Oh, yeah.
Need space in my hand. That's what she said.
That's what she said.
Yeah. 2022, cool time to make that kind of joke. All right. Here we go.
No, I thought Henry was going to read and he did one better. Everyone give it up for Henry. Okay, so I think that brings us to the last person on our open mic for the season. This person is also first time reading an IPC, and this is somebody who I also last year. So I'm really excited to invite them on stage and make it a big warm welcome to Kane. Left or right?
Lefty, righty side.
Hi.
Hi.
I didn't think of any kind of preamble for this, so you might not get any context. Moonlight lights on Saskatoon blossoms, and there are dreams of a chainsaw. Mornings bring cold bones, distant birdsong, and long realities of a harsh buzz. Bees in the hive, bugging no one, but leaving telltale trails on baking hoods. We're seeking shade, and there is joy in the chainsaw. Peace in vibrating arms, strength in both braced legs, fervor in watering eyes, bruised thighs, aching shoulders. The berry blooms are waning, calm grafted onto old wounds, and until next year, there are dreams of a chainsaw.
Thank you. That was a really lovely poem. Thank you for reading that. I, of course, heard Saskatchewan in it and was immediately excited because I was born in Saskatchewan. That's probably about the only notable thing that's happened in Saskatchewan. They're all here now. And to our 6 spot. Thank you again. Let's just give a big round of applause for everyone. It's always amazing that people come out and new faces get up on stage and reading their poems and putting themselves out there, and it's just always really wonderful. It's like my favorite part about these events. So thank you so much, everybody. We are now going to move on to the next part of the event, which is moving into our book launch section. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to introduce our opening reader for tonight, who is Ryan Ennis. And Ryan is a local writer and educator. He's leaving poetry to the amazing poets tonight to bring you some prose. Woo! So everybody, put your hands together for Ryan to read some prose for us.
Be careful.
So, Michael B. Smith will always adjust the mic first.
That's not what I was talking about. When I said fix the angle.
Okay, I was expecting a podium too, so this is incredibly uncomfortable. Something will work out. No. So, we'll only agree anything, as long as it wasn't offended. So I have a short story. Just one. I've also accepted that I'm old. Those glasses. This story is called Boarding Call. The train station was as you would expect it to be. It was clean with gold. It was both bright and dark at the same time. Bricks or tiles or plaster made up the walls and floors. The ceiling was without description. On the walls, there were clocks that ticked or talked or moved through their motions as soundlessly as a breeze on an open field. There were many different types of clocks. Some had brightly colored numbers, while others had clean, crisp font that shouted authority. There were open-cased grandfather clocks that laid bare their inner workings. Digital clocks in a variety of colors worked out the seconds, while whimsical clocks channeled Salvador Dali. The clocks were there to tell you the time, but no one forced you to look. The trains mostly arrived too early or too late. Every so often they were right on time. If you had a ticket, and everyone in the station had one, you would take the train when it arrived, whatever time that might be. Drake sat in the train station pub and sipped his whiskey drink. He checked his wrist where he never wore a watch. A watch would tell him if he were early or late, and that he had somewhere to be and people that wanted him there, but sometimes where he needed a break. He sat in the corner of the pub furthest from the entrance and closest to the station. It was his usual table, and as far as he could get from the outside world. Ray wasn't waiting for the train. He hadn't bought a ticket yet. But he sometimes liked to sit and watch the people go. They were ducks lightly touching down on the pond before flying off elsewhere. Behind the bar, a server slowly and methodically polished a wine glass. She hung the glass from an overhead rack and began on the next, as Ray waved her over for another drink. He had spent more time at the pub lately. One evening he had too many drinks and had fallen over the railing that separated the pub from the platforms. A station aide rushed over and took a piece of paper from the inside of Ray's jacket.
and scrutinized it in a way that made Ray feel uncomfortable. Your train doesn't leave for a while yet, the aide said. Let's sit you back down and get you some water. Ray hadn't bought a ticket and let her know. Everyone has, she said gently, and squeezed his hand. After that, Ray carefully checked his pockets before heading into the pub. He never had a ticket, and no one ever asked him for one. On the outside of the fence, a man hobbled to the north side of the terminal. The sign said, North, and nothing more. Ray watched him go. When he came back to his drink, he was greeted by a kind face. Can I sit? The man asked. Rocks rolled in his throat while his voice tore the background. Ray motioned to the empty chair across from him. Keys clattered on the tabletop as the man sat. You driving? Ray asked. The man looked down and shook his head. I haven't driven in a while. Too sick. Ray grimaced and scratched the back of his ear. Somewhere in the background, a woman sobbed. Her cries bounced off the brick walls. It was as though many voices cried out at once, or perhaps many voices had. The sound cut out as quickly as it had begun. So, Ray said and cleared his throat, what brings you here? I'm not sure, the man said. He looked around as if taking in the place for the first time. His eyes stopped on one of the large face clocks. 3 slow ticks filled the space in the conversation, the space between the men. I'm not sure where here is. His eyes were a mineralized lake and reminded Ray of the countless drives like El Nalca. But that seemed like a lifetime ago in a place that never really seemed to exist. I come here sometimes, Ray said, keeping the secret of his many visits. He sniffed and cleared his throat again. It's a good spot, I think, said the man. Not many people talk about it. I wonder why that is. Ray looked out at the station. There was undefinable hum, the ticking clocks, but only a rare voice. He had never noticed that the quiet came in parts. Instead of talking, the people moved quickly, or slowly, with few words filling the space between them. There were some couples, but somehow Ray knew that only half the pair would take the train. Few took the train together. The lucky few, perhaps. Ray twisted the ring on his finger and watched a passerby. She looked at him, or through him, or at nothing at all. Ray wasn't sure. You're married, the man said. He looked down at his own ring around his swollen finger. 40 years for me, the man smiled. It takes time, he said. Everything does, Ray said smartly. Marriage doesn't just take time, though, he replied. It's important to remember that. The man seemed to evaluate the weight of his statement. He can give you time, too, he continued. You share in the life of your spouse and your children if you have them. But you'll never gain anything if you're not there. He took a sip of the drink and looked directly at Ray. The PA sounded in the background. Behind the voice was the steady and predictable tick-tock of the clocks, the low hum as it all came a clunk, clunk, clunk. Ray looked at the clock straight across from the pub. It was one of the largest that he'd seen, but he'd never heard it before. He watched the second hand clunk itself along for another few seconds. The man also looked. He said. I'll be catching my train soon, I think. Ray watched him and wondered where the man's train was going. The man moved only a little. He rubbed at the side of his face with the back of his knuckles. He had a shallow smile that Ray doubted ever left the man's lips. I used to work with Ray, the man said. The going was easy. There's plenty of work to keep my mind occupied. Plenty to fill my days. The man flagged down the waitress, who moved noiselessly from one table to the next. I'll have one of those, he said, pointing at Ray's drink. Ray finished the last of his and held up his glass. For a moment, there was a comfortable pause in the conversation between the men. It was the kind of pause that good friends can sit in without worry. The walls of the train station seemed to make the platform and room feel both small and vast, which unnerved Ray. He was at once both confined and too free. The man seemed at ease. He took slow, deep breaths and nodded occasionally. The original strangeness of the air between them had been replaced with familiarity. It was hard for my wife, the going, the absence, the man continued. I'd be home for a while, of course, so there was always an end, but she said it was hard in a big home with an empty bed. Ray drank deeply. A small line of liquor escaped the seal between his lips and the glass. It traversed the stubble of his face, trellising like a river to the valley bottom. He wiped his face with a dark cloth napkin and nodded at the man knowingly. It wasn't until my youngest was well into grade school and my oldest was nearly out of high school that I started working in town. I got to see them every night for dinner and through the weekends. They never had to worry about them going again. Ray shifted in his seat as if trying to comfortably settle into this topic. The ice in his glass found its own place of comfort as it clinked loudly in the softness between the men. The man's open vulnerability was unexpected and foreign. One of the strangely designed clocks ticked into Ray's consciousness. He followed the tick-tock, grew louder with his focus. And noticed too. Together they watched the second hand shift noisily from one notch to the next as the numbers of the face melted away. Ray felt the clock ticking in his body and realized his blood pumped at the same pace. He considered that the clock might not simply be counting the moments, but also counting down in some way. The man interrupted and thought slipped away. They're worried about this trip, the man said to my family. I'm ready for the going, but it'll be hard for them. It'll always be hard for them, I think. Maybe less so with time. A small girl walked past the iron fence. Her light blonde hair bounced in her pigtails with each step. It made Ray smile. She held out her hand as she walked and let the tips of her fingers rap against each of the bars. Where there should have been a deep thrum of the bar, no sound came. Ray glanced around the station for her parents. He saw no one and frowned. The man's eyes darted between each of Ray's. I think she's fine, he said. Yes, said Ray, she seems happy. Then why worry? The man asked as he leaned forward. She's a little girl, said Ray. She's too young to be out there alone. We're supposed to worry for her. That's our nature, isn't it? I suppose, said the man. I suppose it's our nature out there. He gestured to the walls of the station with the brushing away flick of his wrist. An aide walked over and crouched to meet the girl's eyes. She spoke softly to the girl, who nodded and smiled before she pulled a slip of paper nearly as long as her little arm and handed it to the woman. Yes, I see, the aide said. This one's quite early for you. Let's go and see who's waiting to see you off. There, said the man. She's not alone anymore. I was worried too at first about the going, he continued. I thought my girls relied on me. It turns out they rely on themselves, but I'm still their father. I'm still the one that brought them up. Ray looked in the man's eyes. He thought he would see sadness, but instead, Ray saw longing. You want to feel you're still needed, Ray said. The man said nothing for a moment and rolled the base of his glass on the tabletop. Yes, he whispered. There's always a need for parents and family, Ray said. Maybe you couldn't help them before when you were gone, but the needing was still there. It will always be there. I suppose, the man said. There was always a returning though, and I was always coming back. Ray cocked his head and brought his eyebrows together. He rubbed his chin. And you won't be, he said. I'm not sure, the man replied. It doesn't seem like it. Ray inhaled the man's words. The breath held weight and was unfamiliar. It caught in his throat. The man seemed more tired than when he had first sat down. You know, Ray said, my grandfather passed when I was a teenager. I never felt like he was someone I needed. He was never someone I would call up and talk to. When you're young, you sometimes don't realize what you have. The man leaned back in his chair. His shirt clung to his body until the outline of his chest and shoulders was much thinner than Ray remembered him having earlier. Ray let the drink smooth the edges of the discomfort he felt in sharing this part of himself. I write letters to him now. He can't read them, but I write them like he could. I tell him my stories or my worries, and somehow I feel. Listen, he's named now, but I haven't. Sweat rolled from the man's hair as he muttered his neck. You never know our worth, I said. I've tried to measure mine the quality of time with others. Lifted his glass to his lips and discovered it was empty, shrugged absently. Somewhere in the station, a clock chimed. It did not break the silence so much as it underpinned it. Ray saw that it was not at the top of the hour, nor any time of significance. Over the PA, a woman announced, "This is a boarding call for," but Ray missed the particulars. Without a word, the man stood. His lake eyes met Ray's and answered an unasked question. He slid his arms into the sleeves of his sports jacket. I wish I had time, he said, for another. He stepped from the table and walked confidently to the gate separating the pub from the station. Ray followed closely behind as the man swung the gate open. A woman stood from a bench Ray had never noticed before. She walked towards the man. She had a grandmotherly presence, and Ray found himself trusting her. He saw the man trusting her as well. She smiled and took the man's arm and offered. With his other hand, he pulled a slip of paper from his jacket pocket and passed it to the woman. I need to catch my train, he said. The woman checked his ticket. Good, she said. There's some people waiting for the platform for you. The man started to walk off, but the woman was stopped. He turned back to Ray, who waited at the gate. It will be all right, he said. How do you know? Ray asked. The man looked Ray in the eyes. There was something in his gaze that Ray felt in his stomach. I'm where I'm supposed to be, he said. Are you? Ray blinked quickly, swallowed hard, and nodded at the man. He waved a quick goodbye and turned to leave the pub. On the station side of the wire fence, the man smiled. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ryan. How did that feel?
Super.
Super? Was that genuine? It was kind. It felt like there was a question mark at the end of that. Super?
Super duper.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Very nice. How are we feeling? Do we want a short break? Some people are getting drinks. Smokers are wanting to smoke.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. We'll take a 10-minute break before I bring Leslie Ann Evans up. That'll give her a second to collect herself and get ready. So 10-minute break, people.
They're so good. One of the few things I miss, like, from this veganism thing, I'm like, fries like that. Amazing.
This is our last one of the season. We usually kind of do the first Thursday of every month. There'll be like a little bit of like we have like a youth cafe. You collect it on the edge.
Yeah, actually, okay. Different, like this, months ago. Yeah, this I got for Halloween thing, because I used Halloween time, so I got this. She's been watching this. This I got like a few days ago. I got that first. They've been waiting for like a second perfectly whole.
I know it's perfect. It's so cute. Love it. Okay, I'm gonna go steal a smoke.
Fun.
I like didn't bring any of my interview questions that I prepared for this. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Classic.
I think, probably turn it out just like a little bit, just because I think people forget, they do actually need to see it. Especially because we had a lot of first
I just like I should have brought a catheter. That's my solution. Be careful not to put the mic or anything. I mean, this is just a backup. This is a main recording, but like, I don't want to fuck up the backup. It's a lot colder than I thought it was. you make it like, what animal do you think I built for this tiny hand?
Otter, a sea otter.
Oh, I was thinking about this guy. That's a good shaped hand. That'd be great for this. But
Is it me you're looking for? I can see it in your eyes. I can hear it in your smile. Hello. 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 Hi. We're gonna get going. So all you fuckers in line better hurry up. Maybe if you weren't out smoking cigarette sticks, we wouldn't have this fucking problem. I didn't smoke cigarette sticks. I like my lungs. I smoked marijuana cigarettes. Okay? I didn't actually, I forgot to do them. I know it was a bad call. Okay, where's my info? I came so prepared tonight, I actually arrived here to realize that I didn't print off the questions I had for Leslie Ann in classic Aaron fashion, but Leslie Ann printed them off. So let's give a round of applause for Leslie Ann saving my ass here tonight. Thank you. As the lover of improvisation, I was going to just make them up on the spot. spot, which probably would not have been as fun for you, Leslie Ann, as it would have been for me. Let's do it. Let's jump in. My name is Erin Scott. I'm a poet and a performer. I have known Leslie Ann Evans for a long time now. We were talking about it the other night, and we both sort of were on the scene between 2014. I think that's when you started coming out. I had just moved back from Los Angeles, and the person who started Inspired Word Café, Raul James, had sort of found me working at Choices at the Cash and was like, what are you doing? You know, come read poems. And Leslie Ann was one of the poets who was there. So we've been revolving around each other for a long time. So it's really a deep honor to be able to launch your fucking book into the world, which doesn't it sound like we're actually launching it? You know, like we're hunting it out, like we're a hunter in football kind of thing. Yay! You all hate sports too. Okay, Leslie Ann Evans, an Irish-Canadian poet, writes from Feeneywood, a contemplative woodland retreat in Kelowna, BC, on the traditional unceded territory of the Silk Okanagan Nation. Her periodical publications include the Antagonist Review, Cascadia Review, Contemporary Verse 2, Faith Today, and Presence Journal. Leslie Ann helped found Red Couch, an art gallery for marginalized artists, and co-created See Kelowna, a museum exhibit of stories told by those experiencing homelessness. Mute Swan is her first collection of poetry, which is a big fucking deal. So here to read tonight for everyone, Leslie Ann Evans.
This is amazing.
Yay!
And I just thank you guys so much for the look around. This is probably the biggest IWC I've ever attended. So that's exciting and really great. Mute Swan, Poems for Maria, Queen of the World, which is for sale here tonight for $15. Usually 20. Or 15. There it is over there. Was published by the St. Thomas Poetry Series out of Toronto in November of last year. So a small run printing of 400 books was done, and we're lingering around the halfway mark, so let's push it over tonight. The book is a journey, really, part personal narrative, part spiritual journey around this idea of voice and various voices in the world that have been misnamed or muted or subverted, and what it means to discover and to use your voice. And the title, Mute Swan, Poems for Maria, Queen of the World, is significant because as a woman, to find an icon, to find an example of spirituality that is actually feminine rather than masculine is not the easiest thing in the world to find. So that is why I dedicated my book to Maria. The structure of the book is divided up into 5 sections, and in each section, the first poem is written in a way quite different to the rest of the poems that you'll see. The reason for that is to allow the reader to land on a repetitive form, so as not to be lost in some of the more ecstatic or lyrical poems that follow. So what I want to do with you tonight is just take a little journey through the book. We have about 20 minutes, and I just want to touch on a couple of poems in each section to give you an overall flavor of what it's like. I promise to follow you all the days of my life. I pass into a white fog, away from green fields, far away from the first language of my people. I swing in an infant carrier from the BOAC overhead bin. The sun rises and falls from opposite horizons, world without end. I am not writing my story. I am already written. My tale of becoming visible is a sun returning from where she remembers light. There is rage and exhaustion in being good. Lift the mask of politeness, howl at the truth. Let's walk together into the grief that comes. If I speak with the tongue of men or of angels, pinky, pinky, bow, bell, whoever tells a lie will sink down to the bad place and never rise up again. From the Dictionary of Americanisms. Prostitutes in high places cut off tips of their pinky fingers. A gift, a swear, love until death. Oh, my body, I bind you to me with 1,000 ardent, incoherent words. What do I know of anything at 13? My pinky promise to forsake all others. I am submersed, baptized, my flight feathers untried. My father, the elder, says, walk in new life. My dress clings to my chest. This is awkward. Exposes me to the congregation, and not for the last time. Am I Lazarus bound by grave clothes? I'm a green shoot, unfamiliar with flowering. Is there a way in this wilderness? I need a clue. Audacious, pink, and feminine as a post-menopausal bleed that is not cancer. Now moving into the second section of the book, in which I'm investigating this idea of femininity and what it means to have a spiritual relationship as a woman with God as a female envisioned figure rather than a male. In many ways, it is like unto dying for Aoife. In this version of the story, she goes swimming on a Friday. Though Mam always said, the water is fraught with danger, due the fair folk are out and about in full force then. It is hot. She is stifled in her wool dress and underclothes. When she arrives at the beach and sees no one, she strips till only her skin shines lily white against sea's verdant wash, a beacon to flounder and sailors. She folds her clothes at the high tide line. Rocks are hard to cross. Relief comes in water. Bull kelp caresses her ankles, her thighs, then cold envelops, black like slurry from a mine. The swell with its gentle persuasion. The sky, mysterious as Mary's immaculate heart. She thinks of sky most of all, how fast clouds open and close, how briefly sun warms the skin, how many gulls carve the air with harsh arcs as she swims a line. On her back, strong arms and legs propelling, almost there. A receiving blanket of fog. A storm petrel's cry. For a short time longer, she is held. When she turns and opens her mouth, heaven is what she tries to say. She thinks she hears the Selkie sing, a host of elegant angels, or maybe she tells herself a fairy tale before falling asleep, or a vision, Tywith Teg, radiant like morning, prayer candles flickering in memorial or in penance. Nothing left to prove or to forgive. All that matters, the dance, the love, the dim, familiar altar of the deep. This poem is really special to me. Because of COVID, I was unable to have a live launch of the book, and so I held this small event in my living room, and I asked 10 of my girlfriends to help me read this poem. So we created a video of all their voices melded together, and it was just so surprising how powerful it was to me. It actually brought me to tears to hear them read my poem. My words carried on their voices, people that I love. This is called Revelation of the Sacred Hip Bone. When I was finally able to read the scriptures for myself, I discovered, behold, there were women. Sue Monk Kidd, The Book of Longings. Surely there is room for my body in your image. Please don't tell me otherwise. Mary's dark night, the birth of holiness through her flesh. Surely this is blood sacrifice. Love is Eve's last rite, though I do not know for sure. I look for a way to say more than a half-truth. There are those who say they know, but I don't trust them. When I say I feel you, I'm on the leading edge. A herd of swine rushes over a cliff. Am I responsible for carnage? So I stay silent. I practice. I have come and gone through back doors of chapels, drop-in centers, my garden shed, looking for you. I have raved, wept, sought new evidence. I'm a worker bee, longing for you, my queen. To be fed on royal jelly, safe within wax cell oblivion. You come to me, lay wild current in my mouth. I sleep. Earth is satisfied with my tongue. Feed me, Mother God. Wall me in the lush courtyard of your lap. I am a toddler. Reaching for your chin, turning your face with sticky fingers. Look, Mama, look at me. There I go again, making up stories. I write a line of words, and they are your embrace, beloved. I'm a child come home to supper at your table, and the fullness of the whole earth is Rosa Ragosta's glory. I imagine you approve. I echo your laugh. I am all yours. Inhale, exhale, spirit wind, carry me in the blue air. Your hands are a summer's day, wide and warm as you catch me. Your face is a crowd. Each smile line is a pilgrim path, a holy well. This next section is really focusing on social justice, social injustice, this idea of wrestling with how you can have faith with a God who allows suffering in the world. And that is not something that I have actually come to terms with or peace with, but the investigation of it is carried in these poems in this section. What you carry. You can take what you can carry on your back. I wasn't there, but he heard the cop say, you can take what you can carry on your back. He repeats this to me on several occasions. Sure, he may suffer from an active imagination. Sure, he lives on the street and his voice is silenced, so he overtells. He tells me again. He tells me again what the cop said. You can take what you can carry on your back. You can take what you can carry on your back. He hears curfews, interrogations. What's yours is mine now. Relocation to Tajmi, Slocan, Hastings Park, all things not equal. Gates shut, signs up, no Japs posted on the outskirts of town. Go up to Memorial Gardens, find rows of black stones calligraphed with symbols, numbers, 1939, 1939, 1939, 1940, 1940, 1940, 1940, 1940, 1941, 1941. A village. His people. Do you see him now? Do you see him? I know nothing. I know nothing. You can take what you can carry on your back. You can take what you can carry on your back. Can you see him? His encampment, his overloaded cart, him bent with the burden of carrying. Woo. Woo. Within the fourth section is this move to unification, or allowing all things, good and bad, to coexist within me. And this poem is a way of articulating those thoughts. When my fingers thaw, so does my heart. Everything is holy. The toothless mouth of the crackhead is holy. The whore's kiss is holy. Last breath of the odied saint is holy. Words of despair, parallel scars on the arms, gray cloudlet, air cold enough to freeze his hands again are holy. The ice rinks gleam after Zamboni's last pass. Skaters embrace, teetering first tries, children in helmets, lit trees and fire pits, winter hats over parking meters, scarves wrapping trees, snow wrapping tent city, all holy. Last call for alcohol, drunk at the Christmas party, girl curled in vomit, all are holy. Anti-abortion activists outside the hospital on Tuesdays, a siren scream, a dreamer's dream, mountains containing valley, containing people, in happiness and in sorrow, all are holy. Holy death and life and resurrection. Everything is death and life and resurrection. Now everything is. How are we for time, Erin?
You're good.
Okay, just a couple more here. This is the central poem of the book, which actually didn't arrive until my third editing with my third editor, believe it or not. And yet here it is, carrying the theme so strongly. It's called Triumphant Arrival of the Mute Swan. Mute is your name. Imagine having no voice. A curse we feel and reach for our throats in empathy. Mute is an assumption, divine and otherwise. Mute is a way to manage a message. Mute rage is yours for what has been denied. Here now, you arrive as promised, glorious, white, fire. We cannot look away. Your bones are hollow reeds. Your neck is an elegant curve of longing and consummation. You protect what you love. Do you love yourself, a word, a lover, or signets you ferry off white drifts of snow? You upend all we think we know. We did not see your identity until now, Mute Swan. You are Maria, her dress, her understated way of magnifying the divine, asking nothing for herself. At least this is the way it is written. You are Eve, first woman banned and blamed along traditional fault lines. You are spirit, ruach, Aramaic feminine, the voice of one calling in the wilderness, make a way for us all. In all, mute swan, you have a voice. One has to wonder at the misnaming. Each time your song roars forth, a curse ruptures. You are mystery. You are us, audacious in loving the holy present, in finding ways to speak of it. How blatant you appear to us now that we are you. How raucous to proclaim our theories to the wide sky, the sound of our wings heard a mile away. Invocation to all the thieves on the hill of skulls. Come, wounded, half sick of shadows, come. With nothing in your withered hand, your brow beaten, bring your grim despair, your outrage, each slight, each lie you tell in your own defense. You are not banished at the gate. I have set a place for you at the supper table. Wife murderer, bastard daughter, adulterous son, tax collector, arsonist, child soldier or child pornographer, runner of money and women and liquor, bring your scarlet letter, your late-term abortion, your gaslighting, half-truths and arguments. Bring your self-soothing forays with booze, narcotics, shame, guilt, terror, craving. All our arguments trip into the ditch, undone. Ask me anything and come. Come, happy drunks, passed out on Leon's chain link edges. Come, flak-jacketed bylaw officers, confiscate our stash of excuses. Come, angels of healing hurricanes, speak daffodils, speak songbirds in our throats, nest and sing. Pour summer's liquid evening, and boreal forests of autumn and cranes flying south, leaving winter's callow silence, its cold, cold tomb. Come, prodigal daughter, head crowned with bits of goldenrod, sage from drought, bring your discordant chord, your song of self-rejection. Lights are lit on familiar streets. All is well. All is well. This porch light, this fire circle, these hands you hold are yours. We will sing ourselves at the open door. And the last poem is a love poem. It's called Stepping It Out on the Street Song. Beloved, you know my body is your body as you dance me, and the grandmother living her addiction, and the man outside Great Canadian Superstore with a cardboard sign in his hand, the 16-year-old daughter with another hard fist, the neighbor with chained dogs and all-night parties, the cashier with dark eyes stuffing groceries into righteous cloth bags, the senior shuffling across the highway, the boy dealing from his locker, the new Canadian practicing pronunciation, the mom hugging her son who cuts. Beloved, you are love, the bedrock in each hard place, where the lipstick of rusty cobblestone, subtle peep, mourning button, and rough-stalked ragged moss soften each broken stone cross, and the earth who gathers us in like a sacrament, her black breast enfolds our carbon hearts. Thank you.
How was that for you?
It was good. Momentum built.
Good, good.
Yes, it was good.
Michael just told me to be nice. I'm always nice.
That's the pot calling the kettle black.
Truthfully nice. Okay, can you turn that down just a smidge? It's just a little reverby. Yeah, on mine. Okay, we're gonna get into the interview. Thank you for reading. It's so nice to hear them. I've spent a bit of time this week with the book. I've been kind of like carrying it around like the poetry nerd that I become with a new book of poems where it's like my buddy, you know, everywhere I go, and I like can't read a poem until 9 p.m. at night, so I don't know why I carry it around all day, but I did. So we were pals this week. So I wanted to start with a bit of history. We've got lots of new faces in the crowd, and you've been coming out to IWC for a very long time, longer than I have been. Probably maybe about the same time as Mark.
Yeah,
Mark might be, yeah.
Absolutely.
So tell us about that. Tell us about how you got started coming to IWC and what that's meant for you to be a writer in community.
Well, I remember tonight as people got up and read their first poem, what that felt like. And it just takes such courage and audacity to get up. I mean, I'm still nervous getting up now, so many years later. But I can't actually remember how I found out about IWC. I think that maybe it was Raul and I in a different circle, so perhaps he was involved for a little while over at Metro Community, which is a drop-in center here in town. And we did some poetry circles there, and I have a feeling that that's kind of where it happened.
Right. Raul used to find people. He'd be like, hey, you're weird. Come check out this weird thing I do. Except he was very charming. We always say Raul could have started a cult if he really wanted to. And it's true. Look at us now.
Maybe this is a cult.
It is. So it was it formative in your early years of writing and thinking through that? Or was it just more of, you'd been writing for a while and now you were sharing?
No, it was formative because before that, I was writing to the page. I was, reading to my family, which is never a good plan. Because they always say, oh, you're wonderful, which I wasn't mad anymore. I was wanting some truth, some real truth. And so for me to come out and read was really pushing me to do something quite different. And then I got to participate in this really cool community and meet people. And, when you asked me to recall some of the memories from IWC, I remember the people.
Yeah.
So the people and then the place where they read.
Right.
So one song reading at the Rotary Center stand out for me. Diane Lars back at the Heritage Museum,
yeah,
right?
Diane.
Yeah. Finn in her first slam.
Yeah.
I think that was at the Laurel Packing House. And then I already said to you this week, Erin, I remember you reading downtown on Bernard under some pop-up tent. And I was like, who the heck is this? Right? Like foul-tongued Erin at that time. Yes.
Yeah. They told me to be PG there. You can guess how that went.
So, I think once there were more slam poetry events, I came out for a while, and I just didn't really feel like I was going in that direction, and I kind of withdrew for a bit. So, but yeah, formative, very formative. Yeah.
That's awesome. How many years did it take for you to write and edit and create this book? All the way through to publication.
Yeah. So once I had decided, because I tend to be the kind of person that sets, you could say goals or hurdles, depends. But I, at some point in time, said, okay, you've been scratching on paper here for years and years. You've had a little bit of, notice in some journals and periodicals, but maybe you should try and collect some poems into a book. I had no idea what that meant, none. But I reached out to somebody who I knew could help me. So I actually emailed Harold Renish, who is an accomplished Okanagan poet, sweet guy. And he agreed to work with me. At first he said, don't be afraid, send me everything. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow, that's generous.
Yeah. So that was the beginning. 3.5 years later, the book came out. So I worked with Harold, sent it out. Got a really amazing response in the form of a rejection, but in a marked up manuscript from
Oh,
a
wow.
press in Toronto. That was fantastic. That then led me to work with another editor, Daniela Elza, out of Vancouver. The one thing that stands out for me with her was we were working together for just a few weeks, but during that time she said, take your manuscript, throw it, just let it fall where it falls, and now pick it back up and try to feel your way through to what order the poems should go in. And that was an incredible exercise for me. It changed everything.
Did you follow the path that sort of laid forward, or did you cling to this idea that you already had of what the book shape should be?
I think that I was so naive to book shape at that point.
Right.
I was just willing to try different things. So it was probably harder for me to throw poems away. So,
Right.
oh, I want this one in, I really like this one.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I got more ruthless as I went. And then by the time the publisher said, yeah, I think we can work with you, but you really actually need to do quite a bit more work, and here's our editor, I was holding a lot more loosely to things.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
So 3.5 years.
So it's kind of like parenting.
A wee bit.
As they get older, you become more ruthless.
You do?
And you throw it away.
Um,
No,
well,
just me.
yeah.
I have 4
In
though,
ways-
so
in
I've got a
ways- in
couple.
ways. I only have 3, so I
Okay,
can't really relate to you.
we're pretty close.
pretty close.
Three's quite a bit.
It is.
Okay. I found that the book was a really wonderfully interesting blend of spirituality and feminism. And I like that intersection. And I wondered if you could reflect on how those two pieces work for you together.
So my life story begins in a fundamentalist religious community, which, when I look back at it now, felt rather cultish. I don't know if that's true, but that's how it felt. And beginning there with a very patriarchal and male-dominated type of environment, I think that feminism and spirituality were already conjoined. Like, they were not separated, because I had to find myself as a woman, and that was a very, very difficult thing. So as my life progressed, and I found myself both in and out of faith communities, in and out of various expressions of faith, I kept bumping up against the patriarchal way, bumping, and the only way that I knew to work through that was in a spiritual and creative way. So it's actually like a 3-pronged thing, where the creative process became for me a real life changer. And I guess that's normal. You know, we journal, we put our thoughts down on paper, we work things out. But I think just even diving into creativity as a spiritual practice helped me to come to terms with who I was as a woman, how I wanted to put myself out in the world, and where I wanted to be in the world. And I could no longer participate in some of those places that I had before.
Right. Yeah, it's a complex combination, you know. I appreciate you tackling these. Okay, one of my favorite things as a very angry person, it's fine, I'm working on it. The book has this like sense of like beauty of the natural world. It's a big part of it. But it also has this feeling of outrage. There's like a real anger in these poems, which I often find in feminist work. We're fucking mad, you know? I said to Cole today, sometimes I want to murder a man so he'll know I'm more powerful than him. And Cole said, uh-huh, okay.
That's a great question.
Yeah. What's the relationship for you between rage, like true rage, and beauty, this beauty that you seem drawn to in your writing within the natural world? And how do those things either balance or not balance?
I guess I think part of tapping into rage is beautiful. It tells me things that are deeply truthful, and in that is freedom and beauty in learning who I am. So there's that element of beauty. And perhaps there's also, sounds like a bit of a paradox, but there's also this, they can be opposite to one another. So my experience in the world has often been very black and white. So this is over here and this is over there. And I feel like I'm learning to hold both things. So beauty, maybe we could look at beauty as consolation and rage as desolation, but if I can hold them both together, I'm more fully who I'm supposed to be, rather than compartmentalizing those things or ignoring one thing in, leaning totally over here into the, oh, I'm gonna write about nature. But, there's things about nature that piss me off too. There's ugly, terrible things in nature. And I also think that anger can be described with beautiful words. So, yeah, that's not a very good answer maybe. But.
No, it's great. I think that it hits on the piece that it made me think about, which is that it's a both and. It's never either or, right? We have the beautiful and the rage. It's like the very idea of the sublime, right? That the sublime is something that's so beautiful that actually causes us to feel anger or rage or just, and then it's a complete overwhelm, So those things are held together.
We can't hang on to it. As we attain that place, that beautiful, connection or whatever, it's also sad because you can't stay there. You leave it. So yeah, it's definitely a dance back and forth and holding both.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, my last question, but it's actually not my last question. There's an encore, but I didn't tell Leslie Ann that. My last question is about Feeny Wood. I've never heard, okay, is it bothy? Yeah, so I've never heard of a bothy. Has anybody heard of that before? No, okay, cool, so you're gonna learn something here. I discovered that my own kind of familial line in Scotland, they, in the Outer Hebrides, had bothies all over the place, so then I felt this sort of, again, kinship to your sort of Irish-Canadian identity. But I also spent time in Leslie Ann Evans' bothy at Feeny Wood, and I finished a whole bunch of poems from my own memory because you so generously opened that space up to me, and it was very magical. It was truly magical. Can you tell us a bit about what Feeny Wood is, about how your bothy exists, and what that means to your creative life?
So bothy is an Irish Gaelic word, and it means shelter. And traditionally, these buildings would be on estates where people would be out, hiking or shooting whatever it is, stalking game. And a storm would come up and they would be caught unaware, and they could go into these buildings and find shelter, wood, some food would be set aside, and they could stay as long as they needed to. And the bothy has a code. There's what you must do, and you prepare it, when you leave for others who will come after you. So I've taken a couple of trips to the UK, and both times were pilgrimages, both into my familial roots and also into creative expression and spirituality and so forth. And because of my experiences there on retreat, in places where you are set aside, you come out of the world and you have time and space set apart unto something. I came home with this huge desire to offer that here in some way. And my husband Bob said to me when I told him this, oh, I guess we're moving, because we were living in the suburbs at the time, and I couldn't build a bothy in our backyard, really. I guess I could, but it wasn't the same. Anyway, we found ourselves so privileged and absolutely delighted to be stewarding this piece of property up in southeast Kelowna. And one of the first projects I undertook was to design and build this little forest pavilion, which is our bothy. And it's set in this glade of fir trees, and we offer that up freely for people in the community who want to come and have a time of restoration and reflection, retreat. And that's what Aaron did. And we've had poets and potters and just people who are working on the front lines in social justice in town come and spend half a day or a day, doing whatever it is that they wish there. Yeah.
So do you turn to the bothy lots? Like, do you spend time in there too?
Honestly, I don't. It is the weirdest thing. No, I don't. I went there today, almost out of guilt because you asked me the question. But it's right there. I see it every day when I, have my breakfast coffee. But I have a beautiful little room upstairs in the house too, which is very quiet and apart. And I also have a dog who's kind of like my muse. And to go down to the bothy and take her just wouldn't work. So I find myself, my creative practice is more going to that studio, going to that room, and also the heart of offering the bothy is part of my practice too. It's like I do this unto myself and I do this unto others, and the two of them are just kind of interwoven in how I live.
Very cool. So if you're wondering about her contact information to get access to the bothy, you can hit her up at the end when you're buying her book. Right? She'll have no choice but to say yes. Okay. It's really magical. You walk down this little path and then you see it in the woods and it's so cute and small, and then you just sit there and you just look out at the trees and you can't really see anything else, and it's pretty magical. I wrote a whole bunch of poems about January. I think I was there in November. Every time I interview people, I love to ask them a silly question. Normally, my silly question is, but I think I might have asked you this already, if you were a vegetable, what vegetable would you be? But last time I asked Michael what birthday cake he would be, and I think he said a burlesque birthday cake that somebody jumps out of. Is that?
Somebody rubs all over their body.
Right, yes, that type of birthday cake, naturally. But because it's spring and your book is full of this kind of wonder at the world, I want to know, if you were any spring flower, what spring flower would you be? First thing that comes to your head, don't overthink it. Yeah.
Balsam arrowroot.
Hey!
And the reason, not because it's, the flower of Kelowna, but it pushes up through ground that has been trampled down and is hard, and you can't even fathom anything coming up, and all of a sudden there will be these cracks in the ground and these sprouts just pushing up with so much strength. It just amazes me every year when I see it. So yeah.
Amazing. This is why I asked the question, because somehow it has this deep fucking thing that people come up with, and they haven't thought about it, and you'd never think. But that tells us a lot about who you are and your resilience and your story. So thank you so much. Let's put our hands together one more time. You can get her book from Ricky or from Shauna. They're waving their hands. They're holding them up. It is a gorgeous looking book. Copies are $15. Leslie Ann will... You can pay with a card. I thought you said there was going to be a card, and I was like, there's no cards, Michael. Stop. She'll sign the book for you as well. So please support some wonderful local poets. This is not technically our last event of the season. We will have a youth showcase happening on May 12th at the Alternator Center for Contemporary Art. The youths, they're fucking amazing. Cole had a ton of fun with some at RMS today, so please keep that on your calendar. Otherwise, we will return in September. We take the summer off to be drunk hippies, okay? So that's what you get. Thank you so much. As Raul James would always say, be gentle with yourself so you can be gentle with someone else. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
so sunny and rosy where it's from. Really amazing. Very powerful. Mine's will leave some stuff for the rest of us to compliment. Stealing all the
And they had a huge group of people who went with their 6 months watch.